You dump out your pocket change at the end of a long day, the same way you've done 1,000 times before, and sitting there, mixed in with ordinary coins, is a penny so rare, so mysterious, and so shockingly valuable that it could change your entire life in a single heartbeat. A 1984 Lincoln penny with a hidden flaw so powerful that collectors have paid over $1.6 million for the right one. And the craziest part? Most people who've held one never even realized what they had. Back in 1984, the US Mint was cranking out billions of pennies. Nothing unusual, nothing special, nothing worth more than a cent. But somewhere, somehow, in the middle of the chaos of production, something went wrong. A mistake. A tiny accident that no one noticed at the time. A detail so small that it slipped through the cracks and into circulation. For years, people spent these pennies without a second thought. They were tossed in jars, rolled into wrappers, fed into vending machines. But one day, decades later, a collector spotted something strange on the coin, something that should not exist. And once the truth came out, the entire coin collecting world went into shock, because this wasn't just any penny. It wasn't just rare. It was a once-in-a-generation mistake that transformed an everyday coin into a hidden treasure. Now let me reset your attention for a moment, because what I'm about to tell you is the part most people get wrong. You've probably heard of doubled dies before. Those coins where the design looks slightly doubled because the die was struck incorrectly. But the 1984 penny doesn't just have a small doubling. It has one of the most dramatic and unmistakable doubled ear features you will ever see. And this is where things get intense. Take a close look at Lincoln's left ear. On a normal 1984 penny, you'll see just the single ear, clean, smooth, and exactly as it should be. But on the rare doubled die variety, there's a second ear, a ghost ear, a shadow ear, a full, clear extra lobe pressed into the design. It looks like Lincoln suddenly sprouted a second ear, and that haunting, unmistakable doubling is what makes this coin so valuable. Collectors don't just want this coin. They chase it. They hunt it. They dream about finding it in the wild. Because when you find the right one, in high grade, you're not talking about a few $100. You're talking about a coin that has crossed into $1,000,000 territory. And if the condition is nearly perfect, the value jumps into the stratosphere. Over $1.6 million for the kind of pristine example that only a miracle could preserve. Imagine holding that kind of power in your hand. Imagine realizing that this coin, this dull little penny you've ignored your entire life, suddenly becomes a key to financial freedom. But let's pull you back for a moment, because this story gets even stranger. The origin of this doubled die is still surrounded by mystery. Some experts say the die was improperly hubbed during production. Others believe the doubling was caused by a rare misalignment during a specific batch. And then there are those who whisper that the die was never supposed to be used at all, that it was a scrap piece accidentally fed into production. And no matter which theory you follow, one thing is certain. Nobody expected these coins to survive. The odds were impossible. And yet, a handful did. Some ended up in jars. Some were tucked away in drawers. Some were passed from parent to child in old piggy banks. And some are still out there, floating through circulation, waiting for the right person to look closely enough. Let me reset your attention again, because this next part is crucial if you want to identify one yourself. First, grab a magnifier. 10x magnification is perfect, but even 5x will do. Now tilt the coin under a light. The doubling won't be faint or subtle. It won't hide from you. On the 1984 doubled ear penny, the extra ear is bold, clear, and instantly visible. You'll see a distinct second earlobe just behind and below the normal one. If you have to squint or guess, it's probably not the real deal. When you find it, you'll know. Second, check for wear. Even a circulated example is valuable, but the true $1,000,000 coins are the ones that have survived nearly untouched. No scratches, no big marks, no deep discoloration, sharp edges, crisp details, and a clean surface. That's where the value explodes. And finally, trust your instincts. If something about the coin feels strange or unusual, look again. Many people have passed over this coin simply because they didn't know what to look for. Let me reset once more, because the emotional impact of this coin goes deeper than price tags. Every collector dreams of the life-changing discovery. That moment when your heart stops, your hands start shaking, and you realize you're staring at something truly extraordinary. The 1984 doubled ear penny isn't just a rare coin. It's a symbol of possibility. Proof that treasures still hide in plain sight. Proof that you don't need luck, you just need awareness. And the truth is, millions of 1984 pennies were made. Billions, even. They're everywhere. They still turn up in circulation. They still show up and change at gas stations and grocery stores. Most people see a dirty old penny. You, after today, will see something else entirely. Imagine opening an old coffee can in your closet. Imagine sorting through those pennies you've ignored for years. Imagine spotting that doubled ear, that second shadow of Lincoln's profile, staring back at you. Imagine what that moment would feel like. Because someone, somewhere, is going to make that discovery. Someone is going to pull $1 million coin out of ordinary change. And there is no reason that person can't be you. So check your pennies. Look closely. Look carefully. Because the most valuable treasures in life don't always shine. Sometimes they hide. Sometimes they wait. And sometimes they sit unnoticed for decades until the right eyes finally see them. You open your hand, look down, and see a dull brown penny, the kind you've ignored your entire life, and realize you might be holding a coin worth more than most people's homes. A coin hiding in plain sight for decades. A coin almost nobody believes could be real. But tonight, you're about to hear the truth about the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny, the mysterious piece that has stunned collectors and is now rumored to be worth up to $1.7 million. It starts with a mistake. Not just any mistake, but one of those once-in-a-lifetime accidents that slips past the mint, past the inspectors, past millions of hands in circulation. Most 1989 pennies were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and normally, they carry no mint mark at all. But this one is different. This one wasn't supposed to look like a normal coin. This one wasn't supposed to exist, and yet, it does. People talk about it quietly. Collectors share stories like old ghost tales told around a fire. One man claims he saw one in circulation back in the 90s and didn't realize what he had until years later. Another says his grandfather pulled one from a coffee can, stared at it for an hour, and whispered, "This shouldn't be possible." No one believed him, but think about it. Every year, the mint tests dies, transitions between presses, swaps equipment, and runs adjustments. During those late-night calibration runs, a tiny handful of coins can slip out. Wrong dies, unfinished mint marks, or early experimental runs. And sometimes, a coin that should have been destroyed walks right out the door. That's the mystery behind this 1989 no mint mark rarity. It's not that it has no mint mark. Most 1989 pennies don't. It's that the die used was never meant to strike circulation coins. Something was off. The metal, the strike, the relief. The entire coin seems to whisper that it wasn't supposed to survive. Collectors who've seen one up close say it almost looks like the portrait of Lincoln is sharper, deeper, almost sculpted differently than the production coins. It's a ghost version of the penny we all know, out of place, out of time. When a coin exists in numbers so tiny that nobody knows exactly how many survived, and when its origin is shrouded in confusion and myth, the market goes wild. $1 million becomes a real number. $1 million becomes the kind of figure buyers whisper, not shout. Let's reset for a moment. I want you to picture something that you're sitting at your kitchen table. You dump out your change. Pennies roll everywhere. You're annoyed, maybe even bored. But then one coin stops you. The color looks slightly different. The edges look just a bit sharper. Something about it feels off. Your heart thumps once. Then again. You lean in. Your hand starts to shake. Because deep down, you know you might be staring at a fortune disguised as pocket change. Now here's what makes the 1989 no mint mark rarity stand out. You need to know exactly what to look for. And this is where most collectors slip up. They look too fast. They assume all 1989 pennies with no mint mark are the same. They're not. If you want to find the real deal, here's how to begin. First, examine the portrait of Lincoln. On the rare version, the details around the jawline and ear look unusually sharp, almost like an early proof strike, even though it wasn't meant to be a proof coin. The fields around Lincoln are smoother, almost mirror-like. Not full mirrors, but noticeably better than a typical circulation strike. Next, look at the date. The numbers on the rare example have a slightly thicker appearance, like the die was cut deeper. The 9 in 1989 is especially bold on the known example. Then, flip the coin. The reverse, the Lincoln Memorial, shows stronger column definition. Look closely between the inner columns. On a normal penny, those spaces look shallow. On the rare one, they're deeper and polished. Tiny details pop that simply shouldn't appear that clearly on a business strike penny. And here's the part that gets collectors sweating. The weight that a normal 1989 penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But the rare version? It has been reported at a slightly different weight, just enough to suggest it was struck on a test planchet or early dye material before full production began. If you weigh your penny and see anything that strays noticeably from 2.5 grams, even by a little, your heart should skip a beat. Now take a breath. Because we're not done. Let's reset again. Imagine this. A man in Ohio once told the story of finding an odd 1989 penny in a parking lot. He tossed it in a jar without thinking. 10 years later, during a cleaning spree, he dumped the jar onto a table. That one coin rolled apart from the rest. He picked it up and felt that same strange tingle down his spine. He could never confirm if it was the million-dollar rarity, but he sold it privately for more than most people make in a year. That's the power of this coin. Even an unconfirmed example attracts attention like a magnet, and it makes sense. The Lincoln series is full of surprises. The 1955 double die, the 1969 S double die, the 1972, the 1983 copper planchet error, the legendary 1992 close AM. But the 1989 mystery? This one is different because nobody knows how many, if any others, still exist. Absolutely nobody. These coins could have slipped quietly through pockets, grocery stores, banks, vending machines, school cafeterias, traveling coast to coast without anyone realizing their true identity. Right now, one of them could be sitting in an old coffee can in someone's garage. One could be in a forgotten piggy bank inside a storage unit. One could be taped inside a child's old science project. And one, maybe the one meant for you, could already be in your home, tucked between ordinary cents you haven't looked at in years. Let's reset again, because this moment matters. Take a deep breath. Feel that little pull of curiosity. That's the exact feeling collectors chase their whole lives. That rush, that spark, the idea that treasure still exists, not buried under mountains or locked in vaults, but hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to notice. And here's the inspirational truth behind it all. Some people spend their whole lives believing incredible things only happen to other people. But the story of this 1989 penny proves otherwise. It proves that the unbelievable can show up in the smallest places, even in the palm of your hand. It proves that a simple moment of curiosity, of paying attention, can change everything. People have found coins worth $1 million without even realizing what they had at first. They were just like you, regular folks, collectors, hobbyists, people who love the hunt. And they found treasures that rewrote their lives. So before we close, I want you to do one thing later today. Go to that drawer, that jar, that box where you toss your spare change. Look through those pennies slowly, one by one. Not because you expect to get rich, but because you never truly know what history has slipped into your hands. The 1989 no mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just a valuable coin. It's a reminder that even in a world where everything feels predictable, magic still exists. Mystery still exists. Life-changing opportunities still exist. And who knows, maybe they exist right where you least expect them. Imagine pulling a dull, old penny from your change and realizing it's worth $1.8 million. Not a fantasy, not a rumor, but a real possibility hiding in the most ordinary place you can imagine. Today, we're diving into a mystery that keeps even veteran collectors awake at night. The 1955 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny that turned everyday people into millionaires without even knowing it. Let me reset your attention for a moment, because what I'm about to tell you isn't just a coin story. It's a story about luck, timing, and the strange way the universe hides life-changing opportunities in places we barely notice. This penny isn't shiny. It isn't rare because it's gold or silver. It's rare because of a freak accident at the mint that almost shouldn't have happened. Back in 1955, something went wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. Picture the noise, the heat, the heavy machinery pounding sheet after sheet of copper. The workers could barely hear themselves think. And somewhere in that chaos, a misaligned die slipped into the production line. It stamped Lincoln's face slightly off, not once, not twice, but thousands of times before anyone noticed. But here's where the mystery deepens. Most of those coins vanished. They were spent, lost, tossed aside, or destroyed. Only a fraction survived. And some experts believe a handful might still be sitting in jars, drawers, and coffee cans across America. Reset your attention again, because this next part is the moment collectors wait for. If you know what to look for, this tiny detail could change your life. On the 1955 no mint mark penny, Lincoln's profile looks normal at first glance, but when you tilt the coin and look closely at the date, the doubling jumps out like a ghost image. The 1, the 9, the 5, the other 5. Each one looks shadowed, doubled, almost vibrating with a strange echo. The letters in Liberty look like they've been printed twice. The phrase "I in God we trust" looks doubled too, as if someone stamped it in a hurry and hit it a second time. That doubling is the treasure. That doubling is the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million miracle. There's something emotional about this coin, something almost haunting. Imagine the hands that passed it. A factory worker in 1956. A soldier coming home from service. A mother buying groceries. None of them knew. None of them realized they were holding a small fortune. That's the part that sends a chill down your spine. The idea that a piece of life-changing luck can move silently from person to person for decades without revealing itself. Let's reset the attention again, because we're going deeper. If you ever find a 1955 penny, look at it under good light. Hold it by the edges. Examine the date first, then Liberty, then "I in God we trust." Don't let worn surfaces fool you. Even circulated examples show the doubling. And here's the twist. Color, shine, and condition don't erase the doubling. Even a beat-up one can still be worth huge money. Some sold for over $1 million, even with scratches and years of wear. That's why collectors search tirelessly through pocket change, coin rolls, and forgotten jars in basements. Because every so often, someone actually finds one dot, and that brings us to the mysterious backstory that collectors whisper about. When the mint finally realized the mistake in 1955, they tried to pull the coins. They told banks to stop distributing them. But the order came too late. Tens of thousands had already escaped into circulation, mixed into bags of coins shipped all across the northeastern United States. Some people say the mint knew more than they admitted. Some say workers deliberately let a batch slip out knowing it could become legendary. Nobody truly knows the full truth. And that secrecy only adds to the power of the story. Now let me reset your attention again, because this next part is where you come in. Today, collectors between 30 and 70, people just like you, have an advantage that nobody in 1955 had. You have knowledge. You know the signs. You know the doubling. You know that a coin worth more than $1 million doesn't glow or sparkle. It hides. It pretends to be ordinary. It dares you to overlook it. But if you don't, if you take a moment to really inspect what's in your hand, everything could change. Some collectors describe the moment they found theirs as an emotional shock. One man said his hands shook for 10 minutes. Another said he went silent, unable to speak, just staring at the date, trying to convince himself he wasn't imagining the doubling. These stories inspire thousands of new collectors every year because they remind us that sometimes life gives you a second chance. A tiny copper coin, minted 70 years ago, can still rewrite someone's future. The 1955 double die penny has no mint mark. Philadelphia didn't use them at the time, so the absence isn't unusual, but the doubling is unmistakable. If the doubling on the date doesn't jump out instantly, it's not the $1 million variety. Don't confuse machine doubling with true doubling. Machine doubling looks flat, thin, like the numbers are smeared. True doubling looks thick, bold, like two complete impressions stacked slightly apart. When you see true doubling, it almost feels alive. And here's something emotional to consider. Every time someone finds one of these pennies, it feels like the coin chose that person. You don't find it by luck alone. You find it because you're paying attention, because you're curious, because you believe there might be something extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. Coin collecting has always been about more than metal. It's about possibility, mystery, hope. Let me reset your attention again, because this story has one more twist. The highest known sale of a 1955 double die penny reached into the $1 million range. One tiny copper coin. One ordinary penny. And that's the kind of discovery that reminds us all why collectors keep searching. Not for greed, but for the thrill. The story. The moment that changes everything. Think about this. Somewhere in America, right now, Someone has one of these pennies and has no idea. It could be a kid counting lunch money, a grandfather rolling change from a jar in the garage, a woman paying for gas with the same handful of coins she's carried in her purse for years. They have no clue that one of those coins could be worth more than a house, more than a lifetime of savings, more than they ever expected. Reset your attention again. I want you to picture your own collection, your own drawers, your own coin jars. Picture opening a small box that's been sitting untouched for years. Picture pulling out a handful of old pennies and noticing something odd about the date. Picture the moment the doubling hits you. The moment your heart stops for half a second. The moment the world feels different because you suddenly know you're holding something extraordinary. And here's the part seasoned collectors always say. Finding a valuable coin teaches you something deeper. It teaches you that big opportunities don't always arrive in dramatic ways. Sometimes they sneak in quietly, disguised as a cheap copper coin that everyone else ignored. Sometimes the universe tests you to see whether you're paying attention. Reset your attention one final time. The 1955 no mint mark double die penny remains one of the most legendary and sought-after coins in American history. Not because it's rare, although it is. Not because it's valuable, though it's worth over $1 million. But because it symbolizes the hidden richness of everyday life. The idea that something incredible can be right in front of you, and you might never see it unless you look closely. Imagine reaching into your pocket, expecting the usual coins, and pulling out something that could change your life forever. What if I told you there's a coin worth nearly $2 million hiding in plain sight in thousands of American homes? It's real, it's rare, and most people have no idea it exists. Today, we're uncovering the story of the 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that could make someone a millionaire overnight. The story begins quietly, in a year most of us barely remember. 1989 wasn't just another year of pennies. It was the final year certain coins were struck without a mint mark, a tiny detail that would soon make all the difference. Somewhere in piles of loose change, these pennies began a secret journey, slipping unnoticed into wallets, jars, and drawers, waiting decades to reveal their true value. Collectors call it the ghost coin. The 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't flashy. It looks like the pennies we use to spend without thinking. But its rarity is hidden in plain sight. Only a small fraction were released before the mint started marking every coin again. That tiny absence, that one missing letter, is the key that if you're holding a penny from 1989, here's what you need to do. First, check for a mint mark. It's a small letter under the date on the front of the coin. Most pennies from this year have a D or P. But the no mint mark? There's nothing there at all. That's the clue. That simple absence can mean the difference between a coin worth $1 and one worth over $1 million. Imagine for a moment, you find one. Your heart races. You've held millions of dollars in the palm of your hand without even knowing it. That's the thrill collectors live for. The excitement, the rush, the possibility that a life-changing discovery is hiding right where you least expect it. The coin itself tells a story. Lincoln's profile, the familiar design, seems ordinary. But look closer. Every line, every detail must be pristine. Scratches, wear, or cleaning can dramatically lower the value. The most valuable examples are those that have survived decades untouched, almost as if time itself protected them. But there's a reason this coin captures imaginations. People dream about finding it in their change, in a box of old coins, or at a garage sale. There are stories of collectors paying hundreds, even thousands of dollars for single pennies in hopes of discovering a rare 1989 no mint mark. The idea of holding something worth $1 million, sitting quietly in your hand, is almost magical, but don't get discouraged. Millions of coins were produced in 1989, and even though the no mint mark is rare, it's not impossible to find. You need patience, attention to detail, and a little luck. Check rolls of pennies, old collections, anywhere coins might have been stored and forgotten. Every coin you examine could reset your life in a moment. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so compelling. Even seasoned collectors get that rush when they spot a coin that doesn't match the rest. The 1989 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a time capsule, a secret kept by history, a hidden treasure waiting for discovery. You're sorting through change, and there it is. The ordinary penny in an extraordinary disguise. You hold it up, Turn it in the light and see nothing under the date. Your pulse quickens. Could this really be worth $1 million? The very idea makes the world seem a little more mysterious, a little more thrilling. This coin also reminds us of how small details can carry massive value. A single missing mint mark can turn a common coin into a rare treasure. It's a lesson in paying attention, in appreciating the tiny things, in realizing that what seems ordinary can hide extraordinary potential. Collectors who know the signs also know the pitfalls. Condition is everything. Coins that have been handled, cleaned, or damaged rarely reach their peak value. If you think you've found one, have it examined by a professional. Proper verification can confirm its authenticity and value, unlocking the story hidden in metal and time. The stories around this penny are almost cinematic. Imagine discovering it in a jar of coins you forgot about in your attic. Imagine the calls from dealers, the excitement, the disbelief. The coin connects people to history, to the past, to the moment when a tiny detail made all the difference. And in that connection, it carries its incredible value. The thrill of finding the unexpected, of uncovering a piece of history that can rewrite a life. That's exactly what this 1989 no mint Mark Lincoln penny offers. It's a ticket to possibility, a symbol of hope, a reminder that sometimes the extraordinary is hiding where we least expect it. One day, you might pick up a penny from 1989 and realize it's not just any penny. It could be the key to $1 million discovery. That's the kind of story that keeps collectors up at night, combing through drawers, rolls, and jars, hoping to uncover the hidden treasure.So. When you next sort through your coins, don't rush. Look closely. Study the details. A single penny, seemingly ordinary, can be the doorway to something truly remarkable. Remember, patience and awareness are the collector's greatest allies. And sometimes, fortune comes to those who are ready to see it. This is not just a coin. It's a mystery, a challenge, a dream waiting to be realized. The 1989 no mint Mark Lincoln penny carries the allure of millions, of history, and of the thrill of discovery. It reminds us that treasures are often closer than we think, sometimes just lying in our hands or tucked away in a forgotten drawer.So. Check your pennies carefully, hold them up to the light, inspect the area beneath the date. That tiny, empty space could hide a story worth millions. The thrill, the anticipation, the discovery, it's all there, waiting for the moment you notice it. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, a coin so ordinary at first glance, yet hiding a secret so powerful it could change your life forever. You might be sitting there, sipping your coffee, scrolling through your coins, and you won't even realize it, but one of them could be worth over $1 million. Right now, in pockets and drawers across America, these pennies are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who knows how to see them. It's 1979, and the United States Mint is rolling out millions of pennies. They look familiar, they feel familiar, but among them, a rare few carry a tiny difference. Almost invisible, almost overlooked. This difference has made collectors across the country stop dead in their tracks, their hearts racing as they realize what they're holding. This is the 1979 D. Lincoln penny, a coin whose rarity and subtle details can turn a simple copper disc into a life-changing treasure. The story of the 1979 D penny begins in Denver. During production, an anomaly occurred, a slight doubling in the design that most eyes would never notice. It's not flashy, it's not obvious, but for the trained eye, this is where the magic begins. This small mint mark, this subtle doubling, transforms an everyday penny into a potential $1 million find. Imagine for a moment the thrill of recognizing that kind of treasure, knowing that the coin in your hand could eclipse a lifetime of savings. First, take a deep breath and let your eyes adjust to the surface of the coin. Look closely at the mint mark, the tiny D under the date. Is there a faint shadow, a doubled line, a subtle echo of the original design? This is the hallmark of the 1979 D penny that collectors are hunting for. Every ridge, every line, every small imperfection matters. And don't forget the date itself. The numbers should look crisp and sharp, but if they carry a whisper of doubling, you might be holding a fortune. But let's pause for a moment. Imagine the emotions that come with discovering a coin like this. Heart pounding, hands shaking, the mind racing through possibilities. Could this really be $1 million coin hiding in my own pocket? Could I be the next person to uncover a piece of history worth a fortune? This is not just collecting. This is a brush with destiny. Collectors who know this story have spent years examining rolls of pennies, carefully turning each one over, studying every angle, every detail. And yet, some of these coins slip through, untouched and unnoticed, in jars, drawers, and coin purses across the country. Every glance, every careful inspection is a potential moment of revelation. You don't just find a coin, you discover a secret that has been waiting for decades to reveal itself. Now, let's talk specifics. The 1979 D Lincoln penny is copper, as most pennies from that era are, but it's the mint mark and the subtle doubling that sets it apart. The D is small, but it carries enormous weight. Some of the most valuable examples show doubling not only in the mint mark, but in the letters of Lincoln and the date itself. This doubling is called a D over D, or a subtle shift that happened during production. Your eyes have to adjust, and your patience has to stretch, but the reward is monumental. Imagine a coin worth over $1 million waiting for someone patient enough to see it. Every few minutes, as you examine your collection, reset your attention. Look at the coin under different lighting, turn it slightly, let the shadows reveal what the naked eye might miss. This is where discovery happens, in the details, in the patience, in the obsession that every collector knows too well. Each inspection is a thrill, a chance to stumble upon a piece of history that could transform your life overnight. And think about the stories these coins carry. The hands that minted them, the pockets they passed through, the decades they survived. This isn't just metal. It's a story frozen in copper, a testament to the rare accidents that make some coins priceless. That tiny mint mark carries decades of history, a whisper from the past that now shouts its value to those who know how to look. Collectors say there's a moment when you know you've found something extraordinary. It's almost instinctual, a spark of recognition that goes beyond logic. You see a penny, and you feel it in your chest, in your fingertips. This is not exaggeration. This is the thrill of knowing that millions of pennies exist, but only a handful could be worth $1 million. Your heart races, your mind spins, and the coin sits there quietly, holding its secret. If you want to find one, you need to be methodical. Start with rolls from the Denver Mint. Focus on 1979 pennies and study the mint mark closely. Look for doubling in the letters and the numbers. Pay attention to the strike, the clarity of the design, and subtle differences that other collectors might miss. Every coin you examine is a step closer to a discovery that could change everything. And imagine the life it could change. Picture holding this coin in your hands and realizing its value. The $1 million potential suddenly tangible. It's not just money. It's freedom. It's opportunity. It's the kind of story you tell your friends decades later. The story that starts with a simple glance at a penny and ends with a life transformed forever. Don't be discouraged if you don't find it immediately. These coins are rare, elusive, and sometimes hidden in plain sight. The thrill is in the search, the anticipation, the knowledge that one roll, one jar, one old pocket of coins could contain a life-changing treasure. Every inspection is a step toward that discovery. Every careful glance a brush with history. The $1 million penny doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't flash or glitter. It whispers, it waits, it tests your patience and your eye for detail. And if you're ready, if you're observant and persistent, it will reveal itself to you. The excitement, the anticipation, the moment of revelation. That is the heartbeat of coin collecting. The very reason millions of collectors spend hours searching, examining, and dreaming. The 1979 D Lincoln penny is more than copper. It is a story, a mystery, and a fortune all in one. Its subtle details, its rare doubling, its journey from the Denver Mint to your hands. These are the elements that make it extraordinary. Every moment spent examining your pennies could bring you closer to a life-altering discovery, a secret hidden in plain sight for decades. So look again. Turn over each penny. Study the D. Watch for doubling. Adjust the light. Reset your attention. And when that spark hits, when you recognize the signs, you will know it. You will feel it. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. Changed hundreds of times and eventually forgotten. But a very small handful of them, produced under very specific circumstances, became legends. The 1940 no mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those legends. Here's where it gets fascinating. Unlike modern coins, the 1940 pennies didn't always get perfect inspection. A small number were struck with subtle differences, imperfections that now make them priceless. These aren't scratches or damage you can see with a quick glance. These are tiny, hidden features, invisible to most collectors, that could turn a single penny into over $1 million. 1940. That's obvious. But here's the catch. No mint mark. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. That might sound simple, but it's rare. Most 1940 pennies you see are ordinary. The no mint mark version is already less common, but what really sends collectors into a frenzy are the subtle variations in the coin's design. Check the Lincoln Memorial on the back. On a genuine, valuable 1940 no mint mark penny, the columns are slightly narrower than usual. The lettering on United States of America might appear a touch uneven, almost like it was hand-engraved, small details that most people overlook. The tiniest misalignment could be the difference between a coin worth mere cents and a coin worth $1 million. But let me tell you a secret. It's not just the physical characteristics that make this coin priceless. It's the story behind it. This penny was minted during a time when the world seemed uncertain. It survived decades of change, countless hands, and endless pockets. And yet here it is, waiting for someone to recognize its value. Imagine the thrill of holding history, literally, in your palm, knowing it could transform your life. Collectors describe finding one as a mixture of disbelief and exhilaration. Some have stumbled across them in jars of old coins, tucked away in drawers, or even loose in cash registers. And once you realize what you have, the adrenaline hits. You're holding a piece of history and a piece of the future, a potential $1 million ticket hidden in plain sight. Now, let's reset your attention for a moment. Take a second and picture yourself sitting at your kitchen table, sorting through a pile of pennies. Nothing seems special, but then the glint of copper catches your eye. You pick up a 1940 penny, study it under the light, and something about it feels different. That's the moment every collector dreams of, when ordinary change suddenly becomes extraordinary. First, magnify the date and the rim. Look for consistent wear, but also look for subtle irregularities. The no mint mark should be clear, not faint, and the edges should be sharp, but not perfectly uniform. Then, study Lincoln's portrait, the lines in his coat, the details in his face. There's a delicate balance between authenticity and counterfeit. Only trained eyes or professional grading can confirm a true 1940 no mint mark penny, but learning the basics can put you miles ahead of other collectors. Some of these pennies have sold for over $1 million. One single coin, almost indistinguishable from the pennies we handled as kids, transformed a collector's life overnight. Just imagine that. A coin that could sit in your own drawer, ignored for decades, suddenly giving you financial freedom you might have only dreamed about. Let's take another moment to refocus. Think about the emotional weight of holding this penny. It's not just copper and metal. It's history, hope, and possibility wrapped up in one small, seemingly simple object. Every scratch tells a story. Every mark whispers secrets of the past. And now, it could be whispering directly to you. The excitement of discovering one of these coins is addictive. Even the most casual collector becomes meticulous, examining every detail, learning every subtlety. And that's the beauty of the 1940 no mint mark penny. It's not just a coin. It's a puzzle, a treasure hunt, a chance at $1 million reward. Remember, rarity is relative. Thousands of pennies were minted in 1940, but only a few exist in the form that commands this incredible value. And that scarcity makes every discovery, every potential find, pulse with electricity. The thought that one of these coins could be hiding in a dusty drawer, a forgotten jar, or a box in your attic is enough to make any coin collector's heart race. But be why now? You might be itching to check your own collection. Take a deep breath, approach your coins with focus, and start identifying. Look for that no mint mark. Study the details on Lincoln's coat. Examine the edges. Compare to reference images. The more familiar you become with the subtleties, the more likely you are to spot a hidden treasure. You don't need to travel to auctions or break the bank. This coin could be anywhere. It could have been handed down, saved by someone who didn't know its value, waiting silently for decades. And now, it could be yours, Think of the thrill of realizing that one ordinary-looking penny could change everything. One moment it's just copper, one moment it's history, and the next moment it's your ticket to over $1 million. That's the kind of excitement that keeps collectors searching, examining, dreaming. So don't dismiss the small, overlooked coins. They may appear mundane, but the 1940 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny proves that true treasure often hides in plain sight. It's about patience, observation, and a little bit of luck, the perfect storm for discovery. The value is not just in the coin itself, but in the story it carries, the history it preserves, and the life it could change. Each penny is a whisper from the past, and some whispers are worth a fortune.